August 31st Roswell City Council meeting for open mic night. And so tonight we have no agenda. Just as you're called on, come to the microphone and state your name and address and give us your comments. So who would like to be first on the agenda? Sir, come on up. Right in front row. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot one thing. Ethan was going to come up and lead us all in a pledge. Ethan, can you come up?
Okay, just start talking. Put your hand over your heart. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ethan, you want to put your name on record for us? Can you say your whole name into the microphone? Pull it down for him, Katrina.
Okay. Say Ethan Singletary.
Your mom's going to help you.
Okay. This is Ethan Singletary who said the pledge tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Ethan. Yes, sir. Now, sir, in the front row, if you'll come up.
Good afternoon. My name is Hassan A-Pema. That's my first time here, so I don't know what is the time limit as far as addressing.
Can you pull the microphone up to?
Sure.
There you go. It's on record, so we need to speak clearly into the mic. Thank you.
Honestly, I do not know what the time limit is regarding addressing some of the issue I have regarding the city ordinance you passed a few years ago. So if, in fact, I go over time, please let me know. If you have questions, I'll be glad to answer all of your questions as well. I'll try to be very short. I have few questions, and I'll try to summarize all of them just to one single issue, which is garbage collection. I purchased my property in Northampton Road, 1310, 1312 is a duplex. And at the time, for several years, I never faced any concern or issue regarding collecting the garbage. The address is Alpharetta, Georgia, 30009. I don't know, for whatever reason, I have to pay my utility to the city of Roswell. If my address is Alpharetta, explain to me later on when I finish my questions why I have to pay to the city of Roswell. Very clearly, under the Article 22 of Georgia Constitution, as well as Amendment to 13th Amendment of U.S. Constitution, which is applicable to the Georgia law, and Georgia has to obey also the U.S. Constitution. To me, the ordinance is contradictory to the both law regarding involuntary servitude. Why you have to force me to choose you as my employee to provide the services for garbage collection? And the second is, basically when I look at the ordinance, your ordinance says in 24.2.3, it says, all property owner or their authorized agent shall be required to pay for garbage, solid waste, collection and disposal for all inhabitable property within the city of Roswell. Two questions come to mind. First of all, inhabitable means any dictionary, any English dictionary. Inhabited means someone living there constantly, routinely, or permanently. In fact, if someone does not live there, the owner or anyone should pay your garbage collection fee because they're not inhabited. They don't live there. Why they have to pay the garbage fee regardless of live or don't live there, which is contradictory to any definition in any dictionary I reference to. The second, in the same paragraph, it says within the city of Roswell. My property is not in the city of Roswell. why I am obligated to pay your services. I do have dozen property. I have several property in the city of Smyrna, in the city of Marietta. Very simple procedure. The tenant, when signing a contract, must show the contract to the city utility department to provide the water and garbage combined. And all that is like $12. Besides, they provide big, nice container and recyclable container as well. And they pick up the garbage twice a week. And you can reference, you can basically refer to those ordinances passed by many cities. And so this is my second concern, which is contrary to Georgia Constitution and U.S. Constitution, which you force me to choose you as collecting my garbage. Besides, I never lived there. I bought it back in 1980, and when I have a tenant, I signed a contract, I prepared a very detailed contract with the application, with the phone number, with the pictures of the potential tenant. And based on your ordinance, I provide that same contract via the fax or email right away on the same day to the people involved in, responsible for utilities. For whatever reason, sometimes they acknowledge, sometimes they don't acknowledge. The reason I came here today, because I received a letter just Wednesday, this past Wednesday, a few days ago, and they said there is a lien on your property about $314 or something. The concern is that not the amount of the lien, $314. I can have a dinner for $500 tonight, but that's not the issue. The issue is, in fact, what's the purpose of having a copy of the contract? When I called on Wednesday, I was so concerned when I received the letter. I called, and the person answered the phone. She said, well, as of May, you have a zero balance. There is no outstanding debt whatsoever, none. So I said, so what is that? She said, I don't know. I said, okay, fine. I came here physically to the same floor, and I have to bring the contract because they could not find it. They said, we don't have it. So do I have to swear in? I send the contract. I send it every time for past, 20-some years. And when they said they don't receive Miss Turner, the first question she asked me, guess what? She asked me, who did you talk to? Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. If in fact, when you call someone, do you ask, what is your name? Can I record your voice? I don't do that. I have a business to take care of. I have so much other responsibility in my life. In order not to ask someone, to me it's insulting to ask someone, what is your name? Can I record your voice? So she asked me, who did you talk to? I said, I don't know who I talked to. It was a lady. She answered the phone and she said, you have a zero balance as of May. And then I have to provide the contract physically to Ms. Turner, and she make a copy of the same contract. And actually, she marked him as well with the yellow. This contract is signed on June 15, 2015, which is a couple of months ago. Both of them, as a matter of fact, June. One of them is 8, one of them is 28th of June. A couple of issues regarding your ordinance. First of all, it says you or your agent. My tenant is not my agent. It does not represent me. I don't allow anyone to represent me. I have to get permission someone to represent me. The tenant is not my agent. So this is very confusing ordinance to say or landowner or the agent. My tenant is not agent. The second issue is, if in fact, what is the purpose of you receiving a copy of the contract? If someone said, well, I do not have it, or you say, well, I cannot find it. This morning, Ms. Schreider, I believe, she called me and she said she's going upstairs to look at the record to find all those things. I said, this place was vacant for more than a year. So why should I did not receive any notice? And in fact, if the place is not is vacant, there is no garbage to pick up. Why someone have to pay for the services which is not provided in the first place, such as collecting the garbage? And what is the relationship between the utility department and having a copy of my contract with my tenant? In fact, when you receive the copy of the contract regarding the potential tenant, meaning you have a practical relationship with the tenant in order to pay the bills. That's where everywhere is. I have property everywhere in the state of Georgia. Therefore, they are responsible. Why you put in my shoulder in order to basically enforce if they don't pay? How do I know? I have no knowledge. Sometimes the tenant just vacate the property without even paying the rent. In fact, if I do not receive the rent in 1 month or 2 months, yes, I take a legal action. And in this case, the previous tenant, I did take legal action after searching and finding where it is. It was located in Cherokee County, and I get the judgment, and also I forced to pay the utility in order to just avoid it. In fact, he did pay 100% of the utility for 13/12, and also this is the, I have a copy, I just emailed it this afternoon to the Ms. Turner and also to, I believe, Ms. Schreider, if I'm not mispronouncing her name. I did send the copy which this tenant paid entire bill, whatever he owed, prior to his departure. His departure was based on the Superior Court of the Fulton County because of was harassing, I believe, his girlfriend or his wife and all that. This is behind the issue of here I'm addressing. But he was kicked out, and he left. The property was vacant for some times. And so why, in fact, if you have authority, the government has authority, we pay the taxes, we pay all those bills, why you do not, you have the copy of the contract as expiration date, as a starting date. In fact, it does not pay the bill, which person using the utility. Why you don't enforce it? Why you don't prosecute those people that do not pay the bill? Why you put it in my shoulder in order to take my time in order to prosecute someone if I find out the fact they did not pay utility? The next issue is the reason you get in a copy, you have full information about the tenant. Therefore, what's the purpose of having the copy of my contract? If you have a copy of the contract, means you have authority, you have a practical relationship in order to get the, bills. You pay the bills by the tenant.
If I could, I'll try to answer your first question.
Sure.
And then we'll have our city attorney address your second main point.
Sure.
Okay. First off, as far as the address, you could have an Alpharetta mailing address, but still be located in the city limits of Roswell. There are places in Cobb County that have a Roswell mailing address, but they're not located in the city of Roswell. There are places in the city of Roswell that have Alpharetta mailing addresses, and they are located. So just because your address says Alpharetta does not necessarily show where the property is located. So that is probably the issue, that you are in Roswell, beside the mailing address. Now, I'll have our attorney, Mr. Davidson, try to answer your other questions.
Sure.
Okay.
If you allow me just maybe less than 4 or 5 minutes, I address the last thing which I experience every day. I have a big house in Marietta. I choose which cable company I want to use. I choose my employee. I choose what kind of service I need for my gas or electricity or anything. The city should not have a monopoly in order to force me to pay for someone else, failure to pay the utility bill, because I don't have no knowledge of it. I signed a contract. If I do not receive my rent on time, I kick them out or I take a legal action. I'm not here to, basically I'm stating the same issue over and over. The city of Smyrna, I have several property out there. The people take the contract to the city. They, based on their credit or whatever analysis they make, if they require, they have to pay deposit or what have you. They provide them water, garbage is included, which, as I said, twice a week. And in my house, I live in Northampton Road in Marietta. You can check it out as well if you want to. I pay $42 for 3-4 months, and they pick up the garbage twice a week, and also they have a recycle bin as well as the garbage bin. I don't know why for a small house here, when someone does not pay, I have to receive a notice. The first time I receive it actually Wednesday. So I'd like someone to address those issues, especially regarding why I have to you force me to use your services, even if I don't want to.
And again, let me have our city attorney kind of outline to you.
Okay, I'm listening. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for let me talk a few minutes.
Thank you. On the how the city can do it, the city has the police power, and they have determined that it's in the public health, safety, and welfare to provide garbage service, sanitation service, to make sure that garbage gets collected throughout the city, prevents diseases, prevents everything, prevents garbage from being on the ground. So it's well within their constitutional authority to provide garbage service. Residential garbage service, the city has elected to provide that themselves. That is within their, again, within their police power. As far as the fee, the city is allowed to collect the garbage, the sanitation fee, in any manner allowed by state law. The state law allows the city, if they cannot collect from whoever's there, to place a lien on the property that is served, and that is any inhabitable property within the city. So whether you had somebody there or not, I think we do have a provision that if it's not inhabited, they get a reduced rate, and if it is inhabited, then they pay the normal garbage rate. So I don't know if that helps answer your question.
I'd like to refer to exactly same reference to the law you're referring to. First of all, police power, city, county, whatever, is below and subordinate to the Constitution of the state as well as the Constitution of the United States. This is subordinate. I will challenge the police power. What kind of police power can someone have to force someone to use his employee? Number one. Number two, you mentioned even if not inhabited, you have to pay the bill. What is the rationale or reason to pay for something you do not use? If the place is vacant, even for 1 year or year and a half, there's no garbage. Why you have to pay for garbage? In fact, when my tenant leave, I have to spend tremendous money to paint it, to fix it, to plumb it, all that. That's my responsibility. I understand that. And I collect those whatever, garbage left after the painting and all that. But to pay minimum, I don't know what the minimum wage is, minimum payment is, even if it's not vacant. Even if it's vacant. So I don't know what the purpose, what's the rationale behind it? You have to pay for the city for just what? Being the city? I like to, you address the same two issues.
The city offers the service, therefore there is a charge to every inhabitable property within the city. If your house doesn't, if there's no house on the property, then there is no charge. If there is a dwelling unit on the property, there will be a charge. We don't know when you're going to rent it or when you're not going to rent it. The service is there and it will be provided. Yes, the city is subject to the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Georgia, and both of those allow us to provide for the health, safety, and welfare of its citizens. It's not about you, it's about all the citizens, and the city has elected to provide the service. It's been challenged before, and both the United States Supreme Court and the Georgia Supreme Court have both ruled that it's well within the city's authority to do such.
Okay.
I think if I can, he's trying to give the legal side of it.
I understand that. I have a JD and LLM in law as well, so I am aware of the law, and especially the Constitution of the U.S. Constitution.
Well, I can give a practical, kind of a practical down-to-earth reason. We need to provide garbage collection for the entire city for many reasons, as was trying to outline, so that we don't have trash all over the place, basically, and some other things. So we have overhead because we have to go to your properties whether somebody is there or not. We have to go there every single week, and we go a couple times a week as well. We go for garbage pickup, we go for recycling, and we go for yard waste pickup. And we have to cover our overhead to do that. We have to cover our recycling center that is part of what the city of Roswell tries to do from that standpoint, educational reasons, and our overhead. So we have to provide the service to make sure the city is kept clean and neat. And so we are coming to your properties. We don't know if somebody is there or not. And that's why I said we do have it set up that if the property is going to be empty for any period of time, the owner can contact us and we'll reduce it because we know we got to go by there, but we're not necessarily picking up actual garbage. So that's kind of the practical business side of it, you want to say, of how we are operating our sanitation department. And we've even gone out to bid multiple times with outside companies, and our department has done a better job. It's one of the best things we always get accolades from citizens about. So I guess to try to summarize it, that's why we are doing it. That's why we're charging. If it's empty, you can contact the building department, sanitation department, and they will take that into consideration. I hope that helps, sir.
Well, perfectly understood. At the same time, it seemed like one of my statements was ignored. I say I always provide the copy of my contract to the city. Then you say you don't know whether it's vacant or not. In fact, if someone does not pay me the rent, maximum 1 or 2 months is out. Therefore, I will inform. In fact, I just stated, last time when I sent a copy and I called, they said we don't have copy of your contract. So what is it? I have to testify under oath that in fact I sent it, or I have to ask someone, what is your name? I'm recording your voice. This is not just reasonable. I mean, you put in everything on my shoulder, even though I don't live there. And, of course, regarding the police power and all that, I definitely refer again. And as I said, this is not a personal. This is for all those people affected by such an ordinance. Based on the evidence I have, that ordinance when this was passed, it was in a closed door based on the statement they make to me. Was no debate, no objection, nothing. And I wasn't aware of it. But prior to this ordinance, I choose my own, or the tenant have right to choose their own employee. And that's what they did prior to that. I have a history, yeah. And I know you're shaking your head, but in fact, this is the fact I have. I have this property since 1980. And
well,
so,
sir, I think what it is, and I can put you in touch with staff on this, but what I think it is the tenant just has to show a lease in order to show that they are in the property. All of our records are basically trying to keep property owners involved. So the tenant shows us the lease, but we don't keep track, and staff can confirm this with you, we don't keep track of the lease agreements. We don't know if somebody's moved out unless the owner of the property tells us they've moved out. Now, if you've got a situation that has gone on and it's been empty, if you can go over and give your card to Dan, who is the head of the department, he can work with you on the gaps you had or the issues you had on the property. Be happy to do that, which are questions that we can't necessarily answer for you right here tonight.
Okay.
But he can deal with you. He can take care of you and try to help you out.
Sure.
And if you wrote a refund because of some empty time, he can help take care of that.
Sure.
So if you wouldn't mind he's a gentleman over there standing up now.
Okay.
He's got a little bit of a bad back, so he stands a lot of times when he's watching us.
Okay.
So if you can talk to him, we'd appreciate it. And
Sure.
He'll try to help you out.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you
you
for
for
your time.
coming tonight. We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Next, right here in the front row.
Hello. My name is Phil Lunny. I live at 9460 Hillside Drive, Roswell, Georgia. And it's funny, I will follow the man up with my statement. The reason I'm here tonight is some of the things I've heard over the last few months at the meeting. And I want to tell you why I chose to live in Roswell 29 years ago. After I was transferred here, I spent 4 months evaluating the North side of Atlanta, so I could choose to. I worked in Norcross at the time, and I had best setting for my young children, 7, 5, and 1. As I was told that if I chose North Fulton to look at the unincorporated for lower taxes. Norcross and Gwinnett had too many two-lane roads, and Cobb was too far away. We got lucky and decided on Roswell, and it would be our home. We are 300 yards, and I chose because I wanted the services that somebody else is disputing. We are 300 yards from Esther Jackson, which has been and will be again. We like Fulton County Schools. The Roswell Rec is outstanding services. Services response are the hallmark to the city of Roswell. I don't go to a TV station to tell them I got a pothole. I send an email. It's fixed the next day. If it's 2 days, I'm disappointed. But we also wanted to be part of Atlanta. We like Fulton County and the Fulton County Library System. I use MARTA. I walk all over Roswell, averaging 5 to 10 miles a day. I've been on every trail. I love the Eves Road, and I will get to that in a little bit. I have no interest in Milton County. I do not want to secede. So I've heard too much of that in some of the campaigns around here. I am also always surprised at the smart conservatives that do not realize what our taxes are when they move here. They pine for lower taxes of a neighboring county. Let me tell you about taxes. I've lived in California, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. We have a reasonable tax structure. I voted for the bond referendum because I trust the judgment of the people sitting up here, the mayor, etc. I can't wait for all the sidewalks to be wide, and Don White's dream of a trail from Cobb to Gwinnett will be the transit between the two counties because we have no other way to get there. With all my walking, I get to watch projects built, and just as they are commissioned, Roswell has a good balance of competent staff, basic maintenance equipment, and they know when to bid their projects. I have no interest in privatizing departments just so we can pay our workers less money. And I relate this to a job I did in Gwinnett County. And Gwinnett County Schools had a saying that everybody, from the bus drivers to the sextons, etc., everybody has that. And I get the same feeling here in Roswell. I do not like the fact about the gerrymandered county, but we just took care of that in a recent election. And I want Fulton County and the city of Roswell to be able to choose their own destiny with the existing government taking responsibility. The second issue, Roswell Riverwalk. From Route 9 to Don White Park is in effect my sidewalk walking to a 185 bus. It's a 2-mile walk. After dark, which is 5:30 to 9:30, depending on the time of year, it's hard to see this walkway, and I know that we don't want that used as a sidewalk, but it's the only sidewalk I've got. So what I'm asking here is there are existing poles that if we could put 2 or 3 lights for the street on those poles between River Landing and the Dogwood Riverside intersection, there's enough light coming through those trees that it would be usable in a low light. And I see a lot of people run there in the morning, etc. And I know we've got bigger plans for that area, but in the short term, I think that's a very low cost and easy solution. And I'd be glad to meet the people out there. I've met all your people out there when they're putting some of these multi-use trails into service. I would like to also suggest that we honor Don White. We have an existing walk that starts at Azalea and goes almost now to the Chattahoochee at Spalding. It's a 10-mile walk. I'd love to see a Don White 10-mile walk. And then you could go the other way and go from the Roswell Area Park down to that same starting point down through Canton Street and over to the Johns Creek Water area and make a nice half marathon if you'd like that instead, or both. And then the last thing I'd like to talk about is the neighbor's wave. I don't like the neighborhood watch, especially after what happened down in Florida. I don't have a gun. I do happen to live on the corner of Martin Road and Hillside Drive, and I've lived there for that 29 years. When somebody drives in or drives out and I'm on my yard, I give them a wave. I let them know. It's a welcome to my neighborhood. It's also, I will provide a hand if needed. I also want other people to know that I've noticed them coming and going, whether they're a vendor or somebody that happens not to have a good intention in my neighborhood. They have been noticed, and that's all. They don't know that I don't have any memory, but that's different. So I've extended this to my walks on the Roswell trails. I wave, and I get a good response. People smile. The other thing is the Riverwalk, if you hadn't noticed, it's where the world comes to Roswell. It's anybody from, license plates from Alaska to Alabama, from California to Massachusetts and Illinois. And the colors of the people are all the shades of the world. And the languages I hear, it's almost like being in Times Square. So Roswell's a wonderful community. And if anybody would like, if I held up this hand and said this was right, W-R-I-G-H-T, would anybody know what I'd call this? I'd call it Warden. Those are two people that were part of a family that gave land to Roswell for the Greenway. So that's my wave, because then a biker can just do this. So if anybody would like it, I say Roswell wave. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate some of the positive comments. Yes, ma'am. Come on up.
Actually, I have some papers to hand to you. I have some papers for you to hand to you.
Just give them to Ms. Love here, and she'll pass them. Or, go ahead, we'll pass them around.
Okay, I handed you some papers.
So please state your name and address, please.
My name is Mary Holvey. I live in 10535 Turner Road in Roswell, Willow Springs community. Okay, the main reason that I've attended this meeting is to acknowledge that there is opposition to the sidewalk policy and connectivity. As I said before, my name is Mary Holvey. I'm a resident of Willow Springs. And I'm sorry, I have to put my glasses on. I can't see past that.
It's okay. Many of us are getting to that point.
I've submitted a petition that I gave to David Davison. In there is a petition against all sidewalks and connections. In regards to special assessment fees, not to be specially assessed by the city of Roswell, and for the city of Roswell not to permit the building of sidewalks and connections in Willow Springs. Now, I'm going to try to make this as clear as possible. I know I handed you a lot of paperwork. Some of them is the actual communications that we got from our homeowner association and the petition. Let me explain to you. Our main agenda here is to let the city of Roswell know there is opposition. We want to be acknowledged that there's opposition, and we want to work with the city because as far as we understand, you're in the process of changing sidewalk policies and changing connectivity policies in regards to Roswell as a whole. And that concerns us. Why does that concern us? Because they had a survey in our community, and in that survey, they said that it was 70% of the survey, and we all wanted sidewalks. Well, the majority, basically, it was only 150 people that actually voted on that. In the paperwork that I sent, I brought to you, it's, as you can see in the communication back with the HOA, is that they're blankly saying that they're working with the city to change the policy for all of Roswell. So how do we get our voice heard that we don't want this? And this is why we're here today, to let the committee know that this is not what we want. I found out that my board wanted to, they proposed to the city of Roswell, we're going to open Turner Road on both sides. It's going to be Turner Road from Turner Road to Old Alabama and then Turner Road to Mansell. I found out by going to the city of Roswell and asking about the sidewalk. I sat there with my 2 children crying. I bought my home because it was in 2 dead-end streets. Now, we've had break-ins in our community, in that area. Several break-ins. Most of the break-ins in the police department, they have police records, that it comes from the little crack in the fence. So now, if you're going to actually open it as a connection, is something that that is heartbreaking for all of us. So the main agenda is we want further communications with the city of Roswell.
If I may, 2 things. One, I'll give a quick comment, and then I'll let Councilwoman Diamond comment since she is over Transportation Department. But this is we don't go into subdivisions and start putting in sidewalks. The subdivisions usually come to us.
Correct.
That do the votes. So I would think you need to work in that arena rather than this arena first, because we're not going to go in and put sidewalks someplace that doesn't want them. You know, that's not our intent. You know, we're trying to get sidewalks on major roads and major right-of-ways, and we have more than enough sidewalks to keep us busy and take up our money. So you're talking about a specific situation within a subdivision that we rely on the homeowner association and the subdivision people to come to an agreement on that. We are not trying to push anything into the subdivision. But let Councilwoman Diamond, she would have more detailed knowledge, and she is over the Transportation Department, so she can add to kind of what I'm saying, if you don't mind. That'd be okay?
Thank you, sir. Yes, that's basically, if you look at the 2 governing bodies here, your HOA is one and we're the other. We have not had a policy. Obviously, we're not in the business of going in and retrofitting sidewalks in neighborhoods. That's just not feasible. And as Councilmember Orland stated, I have a list of 3 pages, single-spaced, and if you add the trail requirements that we're hoping to do, without ever going into a neighborhood, that list is about $95 million. We put about $500,000 a year towards sidewalks right now. So you can tell that's not even on our radar. So having said that, we have a couple of neighborhoods, yours is one of them.
That's true.
Who are interested in putting in sidewalks. They believe for safety, they believe for property value, a host of reasons. And we did not have a mechanism because all we had was a traffic calming policy. We really didn't have a policy. If someone came to us and said, I want to put in sidewalks in my neighborhood and we will pay for it, we didn't have a mechanism to do that, and we never really discussed it because it was all in the realm of traffic calming, which required every homeowner to agree to a speed bump or whatever that is. In this case, the idea was if my HOA decides we're going to have sidewalks, and that's an internal thing in your neighborhood. I don't know what the rules are in your neighborhood about how you get assessed or how projects get decided, but I got to believe you got to have a pretty sizable majority to do that kind of thing. In our old neighborhood, it was 100%, so I don't know what Willow Springs is. But
Well,
if, the question was, if a neighborhood comes to us and says, we have all the money, will you let us put a sidewalk in? Because some of it's public right-of-way, and that was our goal. So the policy we're looking at is if a neighborhood wants to pay for them, we will make a path for that to happen.
Okay, the thing is we don't want to pay for it, and the problem is, okay, Willow Spring is unique. There's several residents that are not part of the HOA, okay? And the idea that, well, that's the problem. The problem is in our community, we don't have a voice. I gave you a petition. There's several people that don't want the sidewalk. How many signatures do you need? So we don't get specially assessed.
But we're not, and legal can help me here, we're not able to, we're not going to assess you. That's not what we would be doing. That would be your HOA would be assessing you and paying us to do the sidewalks. So I don't believe we can supersede an HOA and say you cannot assess. I don't believe that's in our purview.
I understood that that's a policy that you are working with at present time.
No, the policy we're looking at is if a neighborhood comes to us and says, we have all the money, will you let us put in a sidewalk? That is purely, simply all we're looking to do. So we are not asking neighborhoods to do it. We're not inquiring for them to do it. When they come to us and they have the money, however they've acquired it, then we will allow them to put them on the public right-of-way.
We have enough just to try to get sidewalks we need done in our budget. So we are not trying to go out and look for more sidewalks to do. And to your issue, really, if people don't want it, we're not going to be trying to put it there. You're going to have to work within Willow Springs on those people, on getting enough people in favor of it. And I don't know how they assess the individual property owners. But if you have a property owner that they can assess, you need to deal with them. We are not in control of the issue there, if that makes sense.
And if you're not in the HOA, I don't believe you could be assessed. Am I?
Well, the thing is, maybe Becky, she can explain the situation.
I think what I'm hearing, because I've talked to several of these people since this is my subdivision that we're talking about, and one of the concerns that they were having was that the percentage of people who would agree to the sidewalks and who was going to ascertain that percentage. And their understanding is what the city was going to say, you need X, like 100% or 70% or 65%. And I think that's one of the problems is where does the city stand on that as a policy is number one. Number two, the rights of way of that one. And the number three is how does the people of Willow Springs let the homeowners association know that they don't want it. And my understanding is that they haven't been as transparent as they should be. That's my understanding. So I think there's just some confusions here about who's doing what and when is what it kind of boils down to.
Well, the thing is also we're getting, our HOA is giving mixed signals. They're saying that we have to pay for in front of the country club and the strip mall. That the city says that this project, we have to pay for all that to get and I spoke to the transportation department, and he says they either made a mistake, they don't understand, whatever, but that is not correct. So the problem that we're having, as you said, Mr. Olin, is that we don't want it. We want a voice. They're not listening to us. So when you guys decide that maybe the sidewalks is going to go in, we want to be able to at least give you our petition, as we did with the rest of the other signatures needed be, and stop this. This is ridiculous. The special assessment, the special assessment, they're trying to change the policy. Look at all the papers that I gave you. That's from my homeowner association. They said that they're having meetings with you guys and ladies, and basically, it's a done deal. And don't come to the city. The city is not your friend. It's extremely frustrating.
We are here to be your friends. We are
and
you.
I appreciate you. And I appreciate you. And one of the things that I wanted to find out, if someone does not want this sidewalk on their property, understand that the city has the right of way. The right of way to ask. If you don't want the sidewalk, don't you get compensated for, to get the sidewalk if you don't want it? Is basically the city comes in, put a sidewalk whether you like it or not?
Well, again, we're not going to put a sidewalk in there. It's going to be, the homeowners association would have to get the agreement to it. They would have to do the assessments. And you guys control that within your homeowners association.
And how do we do that? Just let me know, because I would love to know how to do that.
Councilwoman Wynn.
Okay, Mr. Davison just showed us a number 28 on Exhibit 4, number 28.
Hold on 1 second.
How much of the overall cost is going to be covered with dues versus assessments?
Where are we on that, if you don't mind?
You're on, you're Exhibit 4,
Exhibit 4,
number 28.
28.
How much of the overall cost is going to be covered with dues versus
Yes.
assessments? I don't think we've even talked about this.
So do you see?
May I finish just a moment, Mary? We had a conversation in committee just last week on sidewalk policies, and not just sidewalk policies, but how it's more of the gaps in our sidewalks. Mm-hmm. Okay. This has never come up that I can think of. Now, I know that Councilmember Diamond and myself did have a sit-down with a couple of the HOA's directors, because they asked us to, and wanted to know the policies, and so we gave them the existing policies, and they wanted to know what they had to do to maybe get sidewalks in their area, and we told them more or less what they had to do. Never agreeing that this is going to happen. I'm sorry if you all think that this is a done deal, but it isn't. The only thing that I can think of is that there's a huge miscommunication here, and I hate to see this in my neighborhood, because we got a great, Willow Springs is a great place to live, and I love living there. And I don't know if this would work or not if we have to have a sit-down.
Can we?
I mean, maybe we have a sit-down with some representatives of the HOA and of the city and of the homeowners, and or something like that. But I think this is something we can probably discuss offline. But I think there's just a huge miscommunication out there, and I think we need to, before this thing becomes, I think somebody said, don't let the bonfire become a wildfire. Mm-hmm. We might want to see if we can, I think Barry said that one, about don't let it become a bonfire, a wildfire. Maybe this is the way that we can handle that, because to me it sounds like there's some miscommunication.
Yeah, it sounds like this is kind of out of control, and some of this looks like, I've just kind of glanced at it, is rumor mills going. So maybe a meeting with all of you people, with your homeowner association, and we can have somebody from our transportation department attend.
And I do think, if you look at number 28, it also says, however, we are not at this point now. We just want to know if there's support for funding this before we get to these topics. So that has not been part of the discussion. And I can tell you, and I'm always careful not to speak for everybody, I have no interest in assessing people who don't want sidewalks in front of their house. However, if it's paid for, if the money came to us and we had enough to put them in all houses in front of everybody's house, I would vote for that. So I'm not going to force it on somebody to pay for it, but if the money is there, I would support putting those sidewalks in. So I don't know if that helps you, but I can tell you, I've been in meetings with yours and another couple of HOAs for a long time on this topic, and a lot of ideas have been floated and a lot of things have been shot down. And I think they've been pretty clear, we're not at this point. We're just looking to see about support. And any of the meetings I've had with the neighbors have been, we don't know if we can get support, but we want to try. So there's not a reason to panic. We're not going out and putting sidewalks. There's no money changing hands, and we're not interested in assessing you.
Now, okay, so basically, since we don't want the sidewalk, should we continue to get support that we don't want it? So at least we can show you also the same thing?
I think you need to do that, but I think you need to take that support internally to the subdivision, not to us at this point in time.
Our subdivision, there is no talk in regards, anything opposing the board does not get heard. It does not get heard. Basically, the entire board is in agreement that this is what they want, and that's it. There's no one in the board that has voted or that is even vaguely different. They all are together, and they all agree on one thing, and that's it. Now, in the connectivity, we would like to be in the book of the issue with the connectivity. Is Willow Springs, have they rescind the paperwork that they submitted to the city?
I'm not familiar with the Turner Road opening at all. I don't know what that
I
is.
do have the papers that the city submitted to me. The city gave me paperwork. I'm sorry, let me get it. And I didn't make a copy of this, so I'm
Mayor,
sorry.
Is that maybe referring to an abandonment of the roadway?
No.
Oh, okay.
Willow Springs submitted to the city a PowerPoint presentation on connectivity and the plan. And in there, they have submitted to the city, and you could see in all those exhibits that they said, oh, it's off the table in the whole 9 yards. But they submitted Bankside to be opened up to Levy Ridge subdivision. They submitted Old Turner Road to be opened up to, help me out here, Turner Road to Old Alabama. These are connectivities. This would be the golf carts, people walking, bicycles, dogs, the whole 9 yards. So, and there's more. There's another one, Roxburgh going into Summerfield, Willow Spring Park going into the office complex on Mansell Road. So basically that would make our private park a public park because it would be Mansell Road would be open there. So this is the proposal that my board submitted to the city. I just want to stay in the loop. When I saw this, I got scared. That my board came to the city, submitted these PowerPoints. Now they said, at first, the first 3 weeks, they said, oh, I don't know, this doesn't exist. And I did speak to Becky, and when she didn't know about it, I was like, oh my gosh. What do you mean, you guys gave it to me. So the city actually gave me this. You guys gave me this, then my board submitted it to you. So I like to know where we are at that, what do I need to stop this, and,
Okay, I think Councilwoman Nguyen might have
I
some
think when
thoughts on that,
I
too.
said I didn't know that they had already submitted that to you. And I'm sorry, but I was out when everything was happening.
I
That was
understand.
when my sister was very, very ill and almost died 4 times, and I was there for 2 weeks taking care of her. So there was some gaps in
Right.
there, and I think that's what I told you.
Right.
And I just wanted to clarify that.
And I appreciate you.
The clarification of that statement. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, if I may, I believe that PowerPoint was strictly an illustration that they brought to committee, if I'm not mistaken. And
Well-
Mohammed, I don't know if you remember this, but I don't believe it was an actual construction proposal. I thought it was
Well-
just an explanation from a citizen who is all about connectivity, about the different ways that could happen. But it has never been, I mean, do you?
Well, just an idea presented in a meeting.
Yeah, it was never an official
Well-
proposal. It was a PowerPoint demonstration just of
Actually,
discussion points.
I am just a layperson, but actually I tend to disagree. And the only reason why I disagree is because the city actually went to my subdivision. They went there, they took the pictures. I see my house right here. So the city already went there without any of us knowing. Like I said, I don't blame the city. You guys, this is what my HOA submitted to you. I'm not blaming the city at all. The city did come to my subdivision. They gave a breakdown how much it was going to cost. So you guys added and subtracted. I think the one on Turner is $77,000. There's another one. And you are very nice. I appreciate everything. At the end of my notes, you see that I appreciate everything you did. Everybody was so kind and generous. On there, it's broken down. I mean, I can tell you what you guys said that it was going to cost for each of these roads. So
Yeah.
think about it this way. Let's move beyond this. You're home in your house, you're raising your kids, minding your own business, working 40 hours a week, raising your children. You get the surprise of your life that the city has already come to your subdivision and taken pictures of your house and your street with little dots, and has an idea about connecting you. Now, mind you, we're not closed-minded. The reason we don't want disconnections is because it's been open before. And when it was open before, we had a lot of crime. Our park, the cops were there all the time because of vandalism. We've been broken in. On July 24th, they stole some stuff from garage. Just recently, 2 weekends ago, they stole a car and 2 shotguns from this guy's house right down the street from my house. We don't want these connections. It is a danger.
Mary, I think we're getting the idea you don't want any connections.
Sorry.
I think you should run for HOA president is what I think you should do.
Actually, I was thinking of running for council, but
Well, I don't think we're the ones going to decide this. I think you need to be involved internally in the subdivision. And nothing has come officially to us. I'm not familiar with details on it. Things could be submitted to the city, to staff. There could be some conversations about it. We are not, like I said before, we are not moving forward to spend money to put sidewalks in your subdivision unless you guys come to us and say, we want it, and here's all the money to do it. So all of you have kind of an internal, and if we can help out or we can have staff come out to a meeting, we would be more than happy to. You can coordinate through Ms. Love or Councilwoman Diamond, and we'd be happy to help out.
There's 2 little problems with that, okay? Not everyone is in the HOA, okay?
Well, and then how could they even assess the property?
Well, because they're saying that you guys are going to come and assess
No,
us.
we're not going to assess the property.
Okay, so this is what we want, okay?
I cannot
all
speak
we
on the
want
behalf of the
is-
city, but I'm saying I don't see us coming and assessing for you guys individually.
Okay,
You know,
all we
it's
want.
a joint
all we
decision
want-
by the whole council, but I'm still saying.
All we want, okay? We don't want any more surprises. We just want the city to recognize
Right.
that there's an opposition, and don't take blindly when our board comes here and tells you all these things. We all want sidewalks and especially assessed us all and come and take all our fences off.
Well, and it's good you're coming here saying this, because, you know, if we didn't know any better and the board comes in and says that we want this and everybody's in favor of it, you know, we may start listening. We know you have opposition. And you have a council member that lives in your neighborhood, so I'm sure she will be informed of what the HOA is trying to do and so forth. And now she knows that there's an issue there that can kind of work.
Yeah, we did make her aware.
That can kind of work as an intermediary as well. But I think you can feel comfortable that we're not trying to go out and do it for you guys.
Okay.
Or to you guys, if you can understand that, okay?
Okay. And one of the reasons, you can see the papers there, that they're telling us not to come to the city, that the councilwoman, actually Becky Wynn herself, that basically they have mentioned in the board meeting that she is 100% supporting them, so there's no point to come to the city and to speak to her. Exactly.
That is so untrue. That is so untrue. No.
Well, now that I meet you, I mean, I'm very happy that I met you, and I can see that it's not true. And like I said, the only thing we want is to stay in the loop.
We will try to work with both sides as much as we can.
Thank you
very
very
much for coming. We appreciate it. I'm sorry, you have to come to the microphone and give your name and address, please, so we can record everything. Yes, sir.
My name's Barry Sunderland. I also live in Willow Springs at 2690 Roxburgh Drive. I didn't come up here to talk right now. I just know that we have about 5 other people that would like to have a little say in this real quick while we're on the subject.
Cheers, you're up. Sure. That's why we're here tonight, to listen to what you have to say.
My name is Gary Mitchell, and I live at 2460 Roxburgh Drive in Willow Springs. I have lived there as a resident for 6 years. I do have copies of my statement. Who should I give this to
You can
distribute?
give it to Ms. Love, our city administrator.
First of all, I want to address the same issue that Mary has, but I want to give it to you in a very compressed version. I, first of all, appreciate the opportunity to address the council in regards to this, and also, Ms. Diamond, I appreciate your clarifications tonight. One of the people that I wanted to reach, as I've done some research as a resident in the last 4 weeks, that I've not been able to reach yet, but yet by coming to the meeting tonight, this has helped. First of all, so that you understand, before I disperse my statement to you, I live in the Tam O'Shanter section, which is not, unless you voluntarily want to join the Homeowners Association, apparently included as such. And so it's from that I want to speak to you and give you some further background, Ms. Wynn, on some of the things that have been occurring, whether you're in the HOA or not. First of all, as I said, I live at 2460 Roxburgh Drive. I've been a resident in that home for 6 years. My property, my lawn, my home, and my quality of life, and by the way, I am going to direct in the September 9th meeting to the HOA my comments if they will allow me to. I am going to address them. Your advice is well taken. My property, my lawn, my home, and my quality of life are going to be affected by sidewalks because I am on the side of the street, that being the interior side, that the HOA is proposing that sidewalks be placed. To me, and I'm going to give them the exact same statement that I'm giving you tonight, this is not just an issue of sidewalks, connectivity, safety, or infrastructure. It is personal. It affects my quality of life, my family's quality of life, my wife's. It's not abstract. It's not engineering protocol. I don't want people walking on a sidewalk in front of my home on my property, and I'm going to be more specific on why in just a minute. I do not want people closer to the front door of my home all hours of the day or night. Now, I'm appearing to you tonight because in the 6 years that I have lived in this subdivision, the HOA has never contacted me through printed material or electronic computer email about the apparent informal residence surveys taken in the last year, year and a half to 2 years in regards to the addition of sidewalks and other connectivity measures in general. 3 weeks ago, the only reason that I know about this is one of my neighbors came to my front door, knocked on the door, said, "I see you out here working on the landscaping in your lawn." He said, "I'm sorry that we haven't awarded you the yard of the month." And I said, "That's okay. My wife appreciates it and the dogs do." But I would not have known about this if my neighbor had not come. And Bob Kessler, who is here, is my neighbor who simply randomly, we don't even know each other, but he came by and asked me if I'd heard. In the first email that I have ever received on last Friday, August the 27th at 3:20 p.m. over the signature of Willow Springs HOA President Bob Evers, in that email in print, and it is publicly available, I've been warned by him not to engage in end-run communication and address the city of Roswell, but to only address the HOA. I had to run around the house a few times on that one before I talked to my wife about it, because I did not feel that that was fair in that communication.
You should have run around your house 20 times without
Yes,
a doubt,
sir.
But you can come to this city anytime you feel you need
Well,
to.
and I appreciate that. However, I am here, and I'm choosing to exercise the right to engage and speak to any governmental agency that would be involved, or private agencies such as the HOA. In the last 3 weeks, I've talked to and or been privy to with Bob to talking with engineer Clyde Strickland, the chairman of the Willow Springs Sidewalk Committee, and I will give him commendation. Jeff Zablonsky, he has accepted my calls once I reached out and made the overture, and to City Councilwoman Becky Wynn, who did talk to me. And in essence, all of you have been very informative. You have been very helpful, and I thank all of you for that. And Ms. Diamond, I have missed in getting in touch with you, but that's okay. Life goes on. We will ultimately talk further. I've gained clarification tonight in listening to you. I want you, and as I'm going to tell the HOA, and there are many people who feel the way I feel, I oppose the installation of sidewalks for several reasons. Number one, I don't want any assessments or fees levied either by the City of Roswell, the HOA, or any other agency to pay for these sidewalks. I just received my current property tax bill, which is $4,200 per year. By the way, in deference to the gentleman from California, New Jersey, and so forth and so on, I don't believe we have to copy everything that they've done with double to triple to quadruple tax rates. My current property bill, as I've stated, is. Now, if this assessment tax progression continues, in my opinion, this is strictly my opinion, ultimately, with my home paid for one day, if my wife continues to put up with me, by the way, future annual taxes and assessments could equal a house payment before this is finished. So I'm against that because of that. Number two, I do not agree with published current HOA estimates for the sidewalk construction on Roxburgh Drive, said to be somewhere in the $1.4 to $1.7 million range. Based on 25 years of shooting instructional and marketing video in the United States with my own company, Thunder Bay Productions, and working with major construction companies, concrete products producers, and others, construction budgets like this have a nasty habit of doubling and tripling. This can indeed happen. It's not been laid out by the HOA as such, only initial estimates. In the first and only email I received from Willow Springs on the sidewalks, research, studies, and discussions, safety of pedestrians and residents is the overriding reason. And I understand that. I live there. I see people who walk. I understand people who ride their bicycles and so forth. But there are some things that are not being considered by the HOA, and I would like to point this out to the city. There is actually the potential for unsafe conditions that can be created to pedestrians by sidewalks such as this. Now, I'm going to compress this very quickly for you. If the city engineers would understand exactly what I'm referring to. And I've witnessed this personally for 25 years. In residential driveway and sidewalk design and installation, The subgrader ground is not adequately compacted often, steel rebar and reinforcement is not used, and the potential for concrete differential settlement is there. You guys deal with it all the time, all over the city. Driving here today, I saw one sidewalk en route to City Hall not far away where there were 3 different areas. In essence, installers will also add significant amounts of water to that concrete, making it more workable, which decreases the strength. Often the sidewalks are not properly jointed to 1/3 of their total thickness. Not blaming you, the installers and the person supervising. Sampled cylinders and compressive strength are not performed. In fact, because of all of this, pieces of the sidewalks may later settle up to 3 to 6 inches in places, creating human stumbling blocks. So, safe solutions to pedestrian usage could possibly create danger. Because of the potential for residential concrete sidewalk design specs and installation flaws, I don't agree with the printed statements on the Willow Springs HOA website from the Sidewalk Committee Chairman Jeff Zablonsky that sidewalks are indeed the only way to safely address traffic flow, improve safety, and protect our neighborhood's residents, quote, from a new generation of drivers who are texting, distracting, and speeding. Furthermore, I want to point out another, expect the unexpected, that the HOA is not referencing. In the event that someone falls and is injured on the proposed sidewalk that would be on my residential property, and I realize the city attorney has given a reading on the laws and liability, that the person, my question is, what would happen if the person sues for injuries and personal damage claims? Who will be legally responsible? Well, today I have contacted my insurance underwriter, and I have posed this question to them, and I have explained that it may be funded by the HOA and that the city indeed might jointly work with them for the installation. And their advice to me was, get a separate umbrella policy now, because everyone is enjoined in such a suit. HOAs, cities, the property owners. So I'm saying I don't want a sidewalk accident to create any financial lawsuit or liability for me. Additionally, one other thing that I want to point out, and this can be measured by the city or anyone else. Sidewalks may indeed create another unsafe condition in our subdivision because it's so unusual with the vegetation, the native vegetation, the trees in addition to those things which have been supplemented and planted through the years. Sidewalk pedestrians could be closer up to 10 to 15 feet to the garage and the driveway backing pathway from a house to the street. If the sidewalks are curved and meander through lawns and vegetation, as the HOA is indicating, and I understand why, they want to preserve as much vegetation, I'm going to present a situation to you. A homeowner's backing vision in a vehicle may be partially obstructed by the trees and the vegetation that are left that remain alongside them. Right now, you can go to the base of my driveway and most driveways, and you've got a linear sight distance of 200 to 400 linear feet when you reach the end of the driveway and you're looking left, right, left, because you are clear of the vegetation, you're at the edge of the street. If you have obstructed vision, the homeowner, meaning from the existing flora and fauna there, and the driver of the vehicle may be more likely to hit and injure the sidewalk pedestrians by virtue of obstructed vision. I'm seeing, if you will, a situation like this. A child comes along. He's doing what his parents have ordered them. He's riding his bicycle or he's doing his skateboard, whatever. He comes out of that vegetation not because he's trying to, but because we have 5 to 10% grades on some of these sidewalks and these lots. And all of a sudden, this young man or this young lady is doing 20 to 30 miles per hour because they're trying to bring their bicycle under control, and they come out of that vegetation like that. That's how long it would take, a blink, and you may not have seen them. I'm very concerned about that because of the nature of the geography of our subdivision. Finally, Willow Springs is a residential and an ecological oasis. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. It's a jewel of trees and vegetation. It's why I choose to live here, and I say this to you with passion. I do not want this standard of living and environment to change. Houses are generously spaced apart from each other, and the distance from the street curbs offer a measure of seclusion. Sidewalk construction, this is strictly my opinion, will destroy many native trees and vegetation. Seclusion will be greatly diminished. Construction projects are not like manufacturing and assembly line production of products. In my opinion, from what I've seen, they can be very messy and forever damaging. Finally, in the last 3 weeks, and now I want to address the survey issue, Ms. Wynn. And I think Mary and many of us are very frustrated about this. In the last 3 weeks, I've talked to numerous Willow Springs neighbors and residents, and I don't find overwhelming majority support for the sidewalks. In spite of printed statements on the Willow Springs webpage and in a monthly circular that they sent in mailboxes today on the sidewalks suggesting that resident majority, I'm quoting now, resident majority support for sidewalks. The Sidewalks Committee Chairman, Mr. Jablonski, last week before leaving 12 days to go to Turkey on a business trip, told me that in that email informal survey of 700 residents in Willow Springs, only approximately 150 to 170 even responded to the survey, and out of that, they're claiming in the public circular that 60-some% was in favor. I'm saying to you that does not mathematically, no matter where we graduated, constitute a majority at this time. Also, of all 700 residents in Willow Springs who bought homes and accepted a deed to their property, and this is my closing statement, in the last 30 to 35 years, did they know there were no sidewalks? Were we all on a level playing field when we bought our property? Did they not agree to buy their property anyway? The answer is yes. Did any home purchaser, last statement, have a special provision in their deed that promised or specified that one day sidewalks will be installed in Willow Springs? The answer is no. No one had such a provision. So, finally, as a result, I say leave Willow Springs as it is, prevent the sidewalks from being installed for all of these reasons, and I will take your advice. I'm going to the September 9th meeting, if they will allow me to speak, and I'm going to deliver the same statement to the HOA.
Well, Mr. Mitchell, I would suggest you take all of these people with you.
I'm going to. I don't know if my Jeep's big enough, but I'll rent a bus if we have
No,
to.
you get in the golf carts and you drive up there.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I do want to say this as a resident in closing to all of you. I've lived in this area now for nearly a decade. I have traveled all over this country for 25 years in various assignments, working with various companies. This is a wonderful place to live in. I think you are doing a fantastic job in dealing with the challenges of growth and all of the things in infrastructure and otherwise that you're having to deal with. I said this the other day when we came and talked to the city, and I'll say it to you again tonight. So we don't view you necessarily as the bad guy, but we want you to understand we feel there is a great misconception, a lack of information. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, sir. And next up.
Good evening. My name is Bob Kessler. I live at 10470 Turner Road in the Willow Springs subdivision in Roswell. I will not beat the horse anymore, I promise. And
We appreciate that, but we want you to get your points across as well.
And what I've done is I've put it all on paper so
Good.
that I don't meander, so that I'll be brief and out of your hair.
Thank you, sir.
I have lived in Roswell for 37 years, with the last 33 years in my current home in Willow Springs. Needless to say, when we moved into Willow Springs onto Turner Road was a complete road. It was a gravel road from Old Alabama to the edge of our subdivision, and then it was a gravel road from the other end of the subdivision to Haynesbridge Road. Thankfully, the mall came through, and the connection roads went through, and fortunately for us, the road was closed, and we've been quite pleased ever since. And I know that the city, we talked about this with the city of Roswell at the time, and we are grateful to what we've had. When we moved into Willow Springs, because of the natural beauty and lush vegetation, to raise our two daughters. They walked, they biked to all their activities, including attending school, visiting friends, and tennis and swimming at the country club. They were safe and secure and thrived in an environment without sidewalks. My background, besides my work in college, is basically a career in aviation. I served in the United States Air Force for 8 years, flew 26 years for Delta Airlines, and more recently I'm involved in corporate aviation. I served my community as a volunteer member of the Willow Springs Homeowners Association as the Community Actions Chairman, which culminated in the community's annexation into the city of Roswell. I spent many enjoyable hours with the former city administrator, Mr. Elwin Gasser, discussing our upcoming annexation, and have never regretted for a minute our decision to become residents of Roswell, Georgia. As Community Actions Chairman, it was my responsibility to keep residents abreast of issues affecting our community so they could voice their concerns to the Willow Springs Homeowners Association. In the mid-1980s and early 1990s, there were no computers, so communications were done by flyers directly to the resident's home. At that time, Willow Springs was a part of unincorporated Fulton County. The community was dealing with such issues as minimal police presence, major zoning issues at the Fulton County Board of Commissioners, and the city of Alpharetta attempting to annex a large section of Willow Springs into their city. Today, our community is studying the retrofitting of Willow Springs with sidewalks. Regardless of my position for or against, I feel that it is more important than ever that all of our residents be informed and given the opportunity to express their opinion. To place information on a website or send out an email is not sufficient to gain support, considering the impact this project will have on our community. Total long-term cost, construction disruption, and the impact on those whose properties are directly affected are but a few factors that need to be considered by all of our residents before any project of this magnitude can be undertaken. I have encouraged the Willow Springs Homeowners Association to provide all relevant information, supporting information, costs, and form of payment by U.S. mail directly to every resident's home address 30 days prior to any vote, to include ballots and proxy ballots for those who are unable or unavailable to attend a meeting in person. Finally, while researching this project, I have become familiar with Roswell's connectivity study. The cooperation and information that I received from your transportation and legal departments was thorough, candid, and very much appreciated. I do have grave concerns about the safety and security issues associated with this study, and would like to know if there is any relationship between this study and the Affirmatively Furthering Fair Housing Regulations, also known as AFFH, recently introduced by the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development in Washington, D.C. It is my understanding that Roswell has been receiving HUD monies in the past, and as I have studied these new regulations, it appears to me that the loss of the city's ability to plan and rezone due to Washington interference is a real possibility. Would the city comment either tonight or sometime in the future on those new regulations from HUD, done by executive order without any vote of the U.S. Congress or Senate, and how the city of Roswell is affected? Again, thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Mr. Kessler, just kind of a quick comment without going into your last question. Our connectivity doesn't have anything to do with that. Our connectivity is just looking at how to increase our trail system through Roswell, and also streets so that they're not locked in and traffic has to get out one way, so new subdivisions requiring two entrances and exits, things like that. So our connectivity is a different thing. It's just dealing with us trying to have better movement through the city. And then HUD is for nonprofits, and that has nothing to do with our zoning either. I mean, I'm giving you quick answers. If you want something more detailed, feel free to contact our legal department on that, okay? I'm sorry, sir, go ahead, please.
It's quite all right. My name is Peter Clark. I live at 2510 Roxburgh Drive in the Willow Springs subdivision, and I'm going on my 40th year out there as a resident, so sometimes I think Daniel Boone was my real estate agent. I'm here to oppose any sidewalk initiative in the subdivision, and I've got some prepared remarks that I'd like to bring to your attention, and I have a handout for you after I get through. First of all, on the use of easement, an easement holder has a right to do whatever is reasonable, convenient, or necessary in order to enjoy fully the purposes for which the easement was granted, as long as the easement holder does not place an unreasonable burden on the servient land. Therefore, the issue comes to light relative to the original purpose for which the easements in Willow Springs were originally granted to Fulton County, not the city of Roswell. In other words, what was the intent of the easement when the property, the servient estate, was purchased by the owners? If sidewalks were not part of the express original intent of the easements, then we have a moot issue in this whole matter. The 100% approval factor. Willow Springs is not a municipality, but the city of Roswell is. Therefore, the 100% approval requirement, being a city matter, should only be considered in a public referendum by the entire city, since in cases requiring a change in land use, such as this sidewalk issue, which furthermore involves a monetary levy to property owners via tax or assessment, we believe the citizens of Roswell are the only ones who can authorize or deny a change in the 100% approval requirement. Preliminary support level is questionable for this project. In 2012, the Willow Springs Homeowners Association initiated a sidewalk survey of the 694 homes in the Willow Springs subdivision, with a 70% response rate, or 486 homes, indicating that 80% of those homes, or 389, either walk, run, or bike within Willow Springs. The resulting number of households with those activities represents only 56% of the Willow Springs households, far below the required 100% approval level. Safety versus cost. Perhaps the most hypocritical aspect of this sidewalk initiative is putting cost over safety. Why do we say that? Since the subdivision's inception in the early 1970s as Tam O'Shanter, there have been no serious accidents on the subdivision's main thoroughfare, Roxburgh Drive. Yet the Homeowners Association would have you believe that pedestrians on this street are in imminent danger and that there is a high likelihood of a serious accident. Based on the history of Roxburgh Drive, this notion is nothing less than silly. If one was to carry out the Homeowners Association theory of high likelihood, one would have to conclude that many, many other similar streets in our city, county, state, and nation will imminently host a deadly accident. Even more of an indictment of this sidewalk plan is the fact that most accidents on Roxburgh Drive have been from impaired or youthful drivers running off the road, for example, struck signs, damaged fire hydrants and mailboxes, etc. A sidewalk will hardly prevent such an occurrence. Getting back to the all-important subject of safety, the Homeowners Association proposes a 5-foot wide sidewalk on the inside of Roxburgh Drive, the east side of Roxburgh Drive from Old Alabama Road to Roxburgh Drive, the west side of Ascot Lane from Haynes Bridge Road to Roxburgh Drive, and the west side of Haynes Crossing. No doubt the routing of this proposed plan is anchored in cost rather than safety issues. Consider the fact that this plan requires pedestrians, including school-aged children, to cross the deadly Roxburgh Drive, to connect from the proposed sidewalk on the inside of Roxburgh Drive to either the proposed sidewalk along the west side of Ascot Lane and or the west side of Haynes Crossing. Of most importance in this project issue, the safety of school children. Consider that the routing of Fulton County Public School buses follows a counterclockwise route on Roxburgh Drive. The proposed Homeowners Association sidewalk plan, which runs on the inside of Roxburgh Drive, requires that school children cross the deadly road to arrive at their bus stop or to reach the proposed sidewalk along Haynes Crossing when walking to Haynes Bridge Middle School. In other words, in an attempt to gain approval for this project by lowballing the estimated cost, which would be lower with a sidewalk inside Roxburgh Drive as opposed to outside, the homeowners association is hypocritically putting cost over safety on the theory that the end justifies the means. Other factors, liability issues. Ask any attorney that if there's an accident on the sidewalk installed on a homeowner's property, that the homeowner will be a party to the resulting lawsuit. The answer is a resounding yes. Remember, the homeowner is still the landowner. Is the Willow Springs Homeowners Association and the City of Roswell willing to pay for the defense and any judgment against such a homeowner? Aesthetics. A retrofitted sidewalk in Willow Springs means a significant reduction in the natural beauty of the subdivision with the demolition of some of its most beautiful trees and gardens. This could actually create a reduction in property values for those properties directly affected. This is in direct opposition to the unsubstantiated notion that a retrofitted sidewalk system will increase property values. A new neighborhood with initial installment of sidewalks is one thing. A retrofit is quite another. Homeowners in Willow Springs knew what they were buying when they purchased their homes. What you see is what you get. Increased possibility of accidents. By moving pedestrian traffic closer to homeowners, shrubs, and landscaping, an increase in impaired viewing could easily result in deadly accidents or serious injury. Continued use of streets. The proposed sidewalk plan will have little or no effect on joggers, runners, and bikers using the street. Conclusion. The Willow Springs Homeowners Association sidewalk plan is riddled with flaws, is an unnecessary expense, presents a questionable alliance with the City of Roswell, negatively affects the appearance and beauty of the development, is improperly routed, and has a questionable support level in light of recent surveys and lack of cost information. Finally, the City of Roswell needs to know that there are a number of Willow Springs residents who oppose this sidewalk plan. Let me just say in closing that our biggest fear was that the Homeowners Association was doing an end run around those of us that oppose this plan, those of us that live in the Tam O'Shanter section of Willow Springs or the Kenross section of Willow Springs, which operates under a completely different set of covenants. And we did not want to wake up some morning and know that the Willow Springs Homeowners Association and its board is using the City of Roswell as a hammer in order to get this done, because they can't get it done without you guys. And we just want you to know there's opposition to this. And again, I appreciate everything you all do for the City of Roswell, for those of us that are fortunate to live in Roswell. And like I said, I've been out there for almost 40 years, and I cherish where I live. I wouldn't move. They'll probably bury me on the golf course somewhere back there. But I thank you for your time, and I'll give you a copy of these remarks.
Will that be in a sand trap or on the green? No, just teasing.
Well, since I never hit the green, it won't be there.
Thank you very much. And I forgot earlier, just for the record, Mayor Wood is absent tonight with an excused absence. So, yes, ma'am.
Hey, my name is Homa Daniels. I live in 2680 Roxburgh Drive, and I am actually in an inner circle where supposedly the sidewalk is going to go. First of all, about you advising all of us to go to the HOA meeting. I did just that last month, the last meeting. The people who are not board members are not allowed to raise their hand, talk, or make any. We can sit down and hear, listen, but we are not supposed to talk or ask questions. So for your information, maybe they can change it. You were in that meeting, you know what I'm talking about. For 2 years, I was the chairman for traffic calming and sidewalk committee. We had 10 dedicated members in my committee that we met once in a month. Each of us got in charge of doing something. Some of them had to talk to DOT, some people had to talk to engineering, City of Roswell, a whole bunch of legal things. And after 2 years of reviewing this deal, considerations being made, at that time the City of Roswell told me that it's 100% has to be approved, not 99.9% before anything can be done. And I knew, I'm a realtor, I've been a businesswoman for many years, I knew there's no way out of 700 homes you can get 100% approval. And of course the consideration, all of the other fellows discussed it, that the beautiful trees, all the utilities underground that has to be moved, a whole other danger that they already discussed, and I don't want to talk about this. Another issue which is very important for you guys to consider, it's only maybe 70 to 80 houses, which is in that span that they're going to put the sidewalks on Roxburgh Drive. There is 700 homes in that subdivision. So you're telling me that the 700 homes deducted, you take away 80, is 620 homes can decide my safety, the children's safety, or people who live on, they can ask me to give up my front yard for a bunch of concrete in lieu of my beautiful trees. They can live in their nice cul-de-sac and do nothing. And for 2, 3, 4 years, I have to deal with the construction and all of the other issues is going to come up. It's not fair that the 620 have to decide for the 80 households who are in that area, and for that reason, I'm completely opposing. Considering for 2 years, me and my committee, I was in charge of this. We concluded, based on the information you gave me, that this is not feasible, it's not plausible, and it's not realistic to do something like that. I gave the report to the committee, to the HOA, and that was, we closed the book. This new committee, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 10 weeks ago, they just sprouted before we knew they are actually, and all of a sudden we find out that what's going on. When I heard the rumors, I went to the city council, the city meeting, the HOA meeting, and I was not allowed to talk. And what I heard, I didn't like. They want to make those people who are not a member of HOA, they're going to force them to become a member in order to get percentage of the vote. And I was there, I was listening, and I didn't like it. Nobody has to be forced to do anything they don't want to do if they have lived in their houses for 40 years.
I think you need to get back on the sidewalk committee.
Well, there's those people, they have their agenda. It's the guy who is the president of or in charge, the chairman of the sidewalk committee. I talked to him, I said, why did you knew that sidewalk committee existed? It was 10 of us, we were sending letters, phone calls to you guys. Why nobody came to me? I was the chairman of this. It's the same task. And tell me, why don't you show us your files? Why don't you show us your research, your findings? How come nobody even worried? Well, it's not going to happen. Don't worry about it. The only thing I know that Mary come to my door the next day and tell me, listen, these are all the pictures, these are all the costs, this is already verified. I know you're telling me it's not going to be done, but if they have an agenda that we don't know about, and we have no right to go ahead and discuss it or so-called talk in their meetings, I'm not aware of that thing. But as a chairman of this committee for 2 years with 10 members, diligently working for this project and finding out it was not possible, I'm at awe that all of a sudden somebody comes with 3, 4, 5 weeks, I don't know, 3 months. A committee comes and HOA backed them off, and now here we are having a sidewalks. I can believe in, I'm not a chicken, I don't know, spring chicken. I'm a realtor, and when I see something like that going that fast, somebody has an agenda that I don't know about. I'm sorry.
Well, I appreciate you coming tonight. I think you know that this is not the first spot you should be going to. And as Mary's gone around and talked to these people, you guys need to get them all together to go to the next meeting.
Well, that's
So
why.
I appreciate you coming tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you for all your help. Roswell is beautiful. We lived in Roswell. I've been here 16 years. I live in this particular place for 16 years. I rebuilt my house because I love this subdivision. When something happened, I could move out of that subdivision. I went to many beautiful subdivisions, like even Country Club of the South. I thought our subdivision is better. I like it because it's the way it is. And I don't want it changed because somebody has an agenda. That's all I can tell you.
It's a great spot. I enjoy going over there and playing golf once in a while.
Yes, and I watch you guys play and throw your ball into my backyard.
Thank you very much. Do we have a new topic, new people want to come up and speak? Yes, sir.
My name is Forrest Buchanan. I live at 225 Nestor Court in, of course, Roswell, Georgia, the Horseshoe Bend subdivision. My first, approximately a year ago, in one of our finer apartment complexes in East Roswell, a policeman was shot and wounded. And I was just wondering, one, has he recovered? And number two, did we ever catch the perpetrator?
Chief Grant, you want to catch us up on?
Yeah.
Rusty Grant, good to meet you. The officer actually was not shot. He was cut very badly, and he ended up resigning from the department. He recovered from his wounds, but he did resign from the department, so he's not with us at the force anymore. But he is doing much better.
Okay. Did Emma Darnell send him any flowers for his recovery?
I'm not sure.
Thank you. The other thing is, I do want to compliment you all on the splash parks that you have built. My granddaughters love them. Although I was somewhat disappointed on the Roswell East last week. That was closed before the end of August. And so we came over to the one over here. During the summer, there's been some instances where not a school bus, but there's other buses from daycare centers come over there and drop a lot of people. On my investigation, the two that I know of, one was from Sandy Springs and the other one was from Marietta. Kind of like we have at the Roswell Resource Center, where you shred paper, you have to show a driver's license with Roswell on it. And I was wondering if there's, although I don't think you can prohibit people from outside Roswell, but you could certainly charge them more than what you charge the residents of Roswell.
Well, I brought up a long time ago that we should put toll gates at the entrances to the city for many reasons, so this would be another one. But unfortunately, I haven't been able to get it through, and it seems to be an illegal thing to do. And I don't think we can limit outside people because, actually, Morgan, you want to come up and comment on this and maybe have more details than if I tried to give some generalizations here?
Well, it's not so much to prohibit them. I just want them to pay more because they don't pay property taxes. They don't pay taxes here. They don't pay fees to the city of Roswell. They just use our facilities.
Well, I know one of them happens to be on Fulton County property, too. So anyway, go ahead, Morgan.
Okay. Well, the issue of charging residents, non-residents more at our spray grounds goes back to the history at Riverside Park. Riverside Park is a joint project between Fulton County and the City of Roswell. So we can't charge Fulton County residents a higher fee at Riverside than we do Roswell residents. So when we established that fee, it was decided it would just be a $2 per person fee. And when we opened East Roswell, it was discussed at the commission level that we didn't want to have two separate fees for our spray grounds. So we just decided on the $2 per person charge at both of those two particular facilities because of that. All of our programs and all of our other activities, there is a 50% higher charge for non-residents than our residents.
But again, that's the history behind the fee at the two spray grounds.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Yeah, we originally, we took over Fulton County land in along the river so that we could take care of it and we could make it better and improve it for our residents. But it technically was Fulton County property, and we just have I think it's $1 lease to use it. So, as Mr. Rogers explained, we can't charge Fulton County residents something different for their own park.
Okay, but there was one group from Marietta. I realize what you can't do it, but to drop 3 or 4 of these, not a big public school bus, but those other smaller buses, when you drop that many kids into these splash parks, it really, for the smaller kids, it's almost, they're somewhat intimidated by people that are twice as big as they are. The other thing is that on both parks, you do have a shaded area. But it's when we were there, there's no benches under the shaded area. And I think you need some more shaded area. If you look at the bench seats that are around in the sunlight, I've only seen one person use it, and that's after she put a wet towel down. Those things get extremely hot sitting out in the sun all day. So I would recommend that you all have some more shaded area. I like it. It doesn't block the sun completely out, but whatever material that you are using is, I think, is great. Also, on the Roswell East, either the big green flower or stalk was not working the last time we were there before they closed it down. Also, we used the playground on both parks. I really think, I know you all, especially on the river, you have some trees planted around which aren't doing that well. But you really, on both, especially the southern exposure, you need to have some type of shade. By 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, the darker material is just almost red hot. And even the kids, although they're getting a physics lesson and don't realize it, but even they do not use the ones that have really gotten too hot. If there's any way that you all could shade that until those trees are shaded, I would recommend that you all do that. Also, the Roswell Nature Center is, if whatever you all can do to help that get along, both my granddaughters enjoyed that immensely. I would also, because going to the park on Riverside Drive, you really need to widen that for bike trails. I mean, when I've been there this past summer, only during the week, not on the weekends, but I've seen some, bike riders 3 abreast casually riding down the middle of the road. And then just other bikes, I've just seen some of the most idiotic chances taken. I mean, a bike is 20 pounds, the smallest car is 2,000. There's no comparison. Somebody is going to get hurt or killed. I would recommend that bikers will not use that concrete path because you have walkers, joggers, and strollers. So I would just recommend that you all widen that for a bike path on both sides so that no one's killed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. McKim. Yes, sir, you're next.
Hey, Barry Sunderland. I live at 2690 Roxburgh Drive, Roswell, Georgia, Willow Springs.
Didn't you already come up one time and speak?
Just to get everybody else up here, and then I got cut off real quick. I've got 2 things. I've got a map here of who the non-homeowners are. I just want to give it to you. You can see that. The end run that they've been running around us, this is what we've been hearing, and this is the minutes from the meeting on June 10th for the homeowners and the motion. The motion to approve a resolution of the homeowners of Willow Springs supporting funding of the sidewalks in our community through assessment and partnership with the city of Roswell. Okay? This is what we're being told. Okay? We've been told that there's going to be a $120 assessment for the next 20 years. You guys are going to collect the money. You're going to do the assessment because the homeowners isn't doing this. The homeowners is leaving this job to you guys to do. Okay? So, in short, board meeting right here. Map of the things. If you're worried about communication between Willow Springs homeowners and Tam O'Shannon or Ken Ross or anybody else, this is an update from President the other day, dated August 21st. And it says, update, HOA update, Tam O'Shannon access. The HOA has had an offer to consent to join HOA on the table since June. And I want to let you know that although that offer will remain open, that we will shortly be restricting access to HOA-related resources. Further down, it says, so there will not be any safety, traffic, political, or other community updates, and forum access will be removed. We will also ask that Tam O'Shannon or Kinross individuals who do not consent not attend any park events, even as a guest of a member. Okay, so that's our homeowners, and that's their attitude towards us. There is no communication. There's an end run that they're doing. And I think we probably could have solved this 3 or 4 hours ago. If I hear you correctly, everything has to be paid by homeowners in order to do sidewalks in Willow Springs. Is that pretty much? If Willow Springs homeowners comes to you and tries to work a deal with you, will you, under any circumstances, put a tax assessment on the homeowners in order to help pay for this?
We are not going to be going to the homeowners and assessing. They would have to come to us with a pool of
fully
money.
Funded.
So they would have to do their assessment, and
I think that pretty much solves the whole problem.
I just want to give the councilwoman my contact information.
Okay, go ahead.
And because we have gone to the board already, and she offered to do a meeting, so there's, I just want to.
Thank you.
So anyway, thank you for your time and patience tonight.
Anybody else have any other topics you want to come up and speak about? Yes, sir. Come on.
I've decided I'm the only one in here that ain't got any problems.
Well, then we want you to speak up for us.
Really, I haven't. I'm perfectly satisfied with what is going on, except I got one question. I've gotten a notice this week. The City of Roswell Council has approved a new... Wait a minute.
Sir, can you just give your name and address, please?
I'm sorry. Don W. Walker, 1350 Kings. Some Yankee got out here and couldn't spell King. It's Keans Court, Roswell, Georgia, 30075, 6359. The City of Roswell Mayor and Council has approved a new ordinance which requires the property owners in all instances are responsible for garbage services on their property. This little shopping center I have is a 3.5 acre shopping center. It's at the corner of Howes Road and Crabapple. If you go towards Cherokee after then, it's Arnold Mill Road. I've been there for 40-something years, and it wasn't the only store out there for years. So I knew everybody's face, but couldn't remember any names. But this instance here says, the way I read it, that I have, 17 units really on the property. I've got a Smoothie King on the corner, same parking lot. There's a Crabapple bottle shop, a building, two building, and then the third building is 200 feet long, 20 foot wide. It's got 10 units in it. That's on Howes Road. On the other road, Crabapple, going the other way, and it's just a little it's a point, arrow point, 3.5 acres. And the other side has got a garage and got a little grocery store, which I ran for 40 years, and a house. And the house on it, the person that lives in the house maintains the shopping center. He's out there cutting grass, he's out there cleaning and sweeping, he's around the garbage cans putting stuff in that the neighborhood brings in there, and that's a lot of that. And so there's really, the place is clean. This, the way I read it, is I can't have their garbage bins. There's 3 garbage bins there. There's one there behind for the Smoothie King. It's on the corner. The next building is the Crabapple Bottle Shop. It's next. And then you got the long building and the house and the store. There's 3 garbage bins there. One of them's fenced in for all the people in the long building and in the house. The liquor store has its own bin, and the Smoothie King has theirs. They're picked up 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, all 3 of them. And they stay pretty clean if the neighborhood stay out of them, but of course you ain't going to get that. And I guess my question is, this thing states evidently that I can't have those. They got to be in my name now instead of their name. Am I reading this thing right?
Our city administrator, Kay Love, will respond to your question.
May I see the letter? I believe if
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry to make you walk up here. I believe it's a result of us changing the ordinance. So the city changed the ordinance to make the property owner responsible. Are these dumpsters?
Yes, ma'am.
And
The liquor store got a lot of picked up 3 times a week. So does all 3 of them.
yes, sir. Mayor Pro Tem, staff can handle this with him, or we can go into it here. But the answer is yes. If it's in their individual names now, is that how it is now?
It's in the lease that way.
Right.
And of course, I'm in there 15 times a day, so it seems like somebody's always got a problem. But
So it's a part of their lease that they're responsible for their dumpsters.
It
Okay.
is in their lease that they're responsible for.
Okay.
And all my units are full. I have a triple net lease, so I pay for everything outside, and nobody else seems to do that anymore because
Right.
they don't have to add everything into a work order and add it to you at the end of the year, month or whatever it is.
I'll tell you,
We don't do that.
Mr. Walker, do you want to talk to him? or
Yes, Mr.
Dan?
Lee, actually, would you make your way up here? Mr. Lee is, Keith Lee's our finance director, and he handles the billing, and this actually came from his department. And there is some paperwork that you're going to be required to do because we have changed the provision. So I'm going to give this letter back to you, and if you would just turn right around, and Mr. Lee.
Mr. Lee will help you out, Mr. Walker.
Well, yeah, and he's not going to argue. I'm much meaner than he is, so he's not going to argue.
Thank you, Mr. Walker.
Thank you for coming. I'm sorry you had to
He'll
come
help
down
you
here.
out
but he-
over there.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we're getting down to a few people left. Anyone else have comments or have anything to say? If not, we will close the open forum meeting. Thank you. And now we will call to order the special call mayor and council meeting of 8/31/2015. The first item on the agenda is Administration and Finance Department. Councilman Kent
Eichelhart.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Latest, newest, greatest director of movies.
We can have a screen right now if you'd like. This is related to holiday lighting in parts of the city that are the property owned other than the City Hall. And we went over this the other day in the committee meeting. The totals are for, I should let Mr. Fisher go through all this, but the totals are for the 3 areas we talked about: Heart of Roswell Park, the Cultural Arts Center, and the Town Square, which will